Meantime, in D.C., the debate continues over police reform. Congress voting on a series of packages this week, trying to reach a compromise. Our Kayla Sullivan spoke with Indiana Senator Mike Braun, who's proposing a big change in laws dealing with immunity for police.
Police breaking the collarbone of an unarmed woman or releasing a canine on a person who surrendered. Senator Mike Braun is using these two real-life instances to explain why he thinks the current system isn't working. So he wants to change it.
Unless there is a law, federal or state, or court ruling that would make legal whatever an officer might do, that is your immunity, so to speak. If it goes beyond that, then the organization and the individual officer would have some accountability.
Senator Braun is talking about changing the protections of qualified immunity that are currently in place for police officers. Indiana State Fraternal Order of Police President William Owensby says qualified immunity does not protect police from being punished for wrongdoing.
It does not prevent them from being criminally charged. It doesn't prevent them from being fired. It doesn't prevent them from having their certification revoked.
Instead, he says it stops against frivolous lawsuits.
The very first thing it would prevent is ludicrous civil actions that would bog down the system to no end.
Braun wants to make sure the changes don't hurt groups like the FOP.
We've got to have some type of sensible framework out there for the sake of organizations like FOP, so for all the good work that they do, they don't get stigmatized by these bad occurrences.
As for the bill itself, Democratic Indiana Congressman Andre Carson said he is encouraged his fellow Hoosier recognizes the importance of fixing the problems with qualified immunity. I'm Kayla Sullivan reporting.
Now, in a statement, Senator Todd Young said, quote, qualified immunity is a very complex legal issue that merits vetting through the committee hearing process. This week, our D.C. Bureau also caught up with Congressman Andre Carson and Greg Pence after a Democratic-led bill passed the House dealing with police reform.
I support it. I think we're taking the right steps in containing qualified immunity. I think we're taking the right steps in really looking more deeply at no-knock warrants. I think what has happened historically is that law enforcement is an honorable job. It's a thankless position, but there have been abuses, too many abuses. As a former police officer, I can attest to the fact that most police officers go to work wanting to do the right thing, but there are far too many bad apples who ruin it for the rest of them.
This one has excluded the Republicans. We didn't have a chance to sit down and talk about it. Of course, when you don't come to Washington, D.C., you know, it's not easy to talk about such things. You know, in our bill, the Justice Act, we have immunity is protected. We don't have defund the police, which this bill does. I believe that the commission idea in our Justice Act makes a lot of sense. Bring some experts together, talk about how we can serve our communities better.
We'll see what happens as that debate continues now in Washington. In recent days, we convened a panel of experts and police reform advocates to talk about what's happening right here in central Indiana. Our Burchell Edmé spoke with local organizers to get their thoughts on this very critical topic.
Big conversation we're seeing in the Circle City. So James, let me start with you. I know that you've worked extensively through Circle Up Indy on violence reduction in our neighborhoods, creating safe interactions between local police and the Black community. So are changes needed, and what are they?
There are changes needed. We keep talking about cultural changes, but that goes a little bit deeper. It's really connecting with the community in the way that they understand how the community interacts and responds to them. Therefore, you have stronger development.
And let's dive deeper into that, because you said there's more to it. Reform, right? So Nia Hyatt, you and Black Women in Charge, you let us sit in at the State House talking about change, making demands for that. And IMPD has started with plans to ban chokeholds, to make sure they add a use of force board. And then recently, the chief also announced a public disclosure policy for investigations. So for a case like Dre'Jon Reed's, that means letting people know which officers are involved. So Nia Hyatt, does that meet your expectation for changes that you're expecting?
Yes, it actually meets about three out of the 4 demands we've already made. But we're not stopping at just that. You know, we have many more demands to make because, like you said, there's reform that needs to be made, and it's in everything. It's systemic. So, yes, we'll be asking to make more demands, and hopefully they'll continue to meet them.
So as we discuss the demands, whether that's internal for police departments or even legislative for reform, there's also been a real public call here to fix the root issues of racial inequality in Indiana. So for instance, IU Public Policy found in 2018 in the metro area, whether in a predominantly black or white neighborhood, black homeowners' property is less valued, some cases up to $40,000 of a difference. The Kaiser Family Foundation found that the same year, 26% of black Hoosiers live in poverty compared to 10% of white Hoosiers. And then even when we're talking about health, black Hoosiers in Marion County twice as likely to get coronavirus, with less access to health care, fewer opportunities to work from home, and more populated neighborhoods contributing to that. So Darren, part of your work at ProAct Indy, it's really talking about working with children and working with youth, the next generation. What impact does that inequality have, and also why does it connect to the call for police reform?
Yeah, the call for reform in the police department is not just the police department or law enforcement. I think it has to do with the systems of the criminal justice system as a whole. I mean, we need to call for reform in the legislature, in policy, and a greater economic investment in the Black community, which ultimately affects our youth. And so my work with ProAct is all about helping people see people as people, not just as objects. And so help break down silos between businesses, nonprofits, and schools to give a supportive ecosystem to our youth so that they can thrive and have more opportunity and access to that opportunity.
Arnetta, throughout this whole time as he was speaking, and even the other two, I saw you nodding your head a lot of times here. You work with Bloom Project Incorporated, and that centers around young black men who statistically they're more likely to face these inequalities and also police violence. So as Darren talks about laws and changes there, what can lawmakers do to address what we're talking about here?
I think it's very important, even from a state level, that we make sure that our youth are at the table. And I think with a lot of our, what's been going on lately, a lot of our young people have, became the leaders of the protests, the movement. And so I think it's very important that we are listening to our young people.
Listening is key to these conversations. We want to thank each and every one of you for making your voices heard. And Fox 59, of course, will continue this conversation. You can find much more on fox59.com.
All right, Birchelle, thanks. Coming up next this Sunday in Focus, the economic impact of COVID-19 and how they're dealing with the job loss in one Indiana county that's been hard hit economically. And how will the coronavirus impact the presidential debates? We'll take you to South Bend, where the first debate will take place 3 months from now. That, and we'll talk with our panel about the latest polling in the race for president next.